Hello, this is a guide on how to beat Duke Fishron using the Terraria access mod with no sight. I'll be going over how to catch a Truffle Worm, the spawner, in case you don't know how to do so, basic arena prep, and some general tips, and then the actual fight itself through all the phases, and generally how you can move to dodge them, especially for certain phases and higher difficulties. And to end it off, there's a complete fight using gear available right after you've beaten Plantera. Anything of note I forget to mention will be in the description, along with timestamps.
Catching a Truffle Worm.
Okay, to start with the Truffle Worm, it spawns at any point in the underground mushroom biome after you've entered hard mode, so just beat the wall of flesh. I would not recommend trying to fight this guy if it's your first time doing so, until you've gotten post-Plantera or post-Golem gear, since that's usually the point he's intended to be fought. It is possible to fight him pre-mech, but it requires a different block setup for the arena, and I wouldn't recommend that unless you've already gotten experience, or just want to really challenge yourself. So you just go to the underground mushroom biome, check the critters tab in exploration until it appears, and teleport to it while swinging your bug net. Hopefully you should catch it. I usually swing my bug net preemptively, slightly before teleporting, and then move my character left to right on that spot to get a higher chance of catching it. Sometimes enemy will just be there and kill it, or it burrows away if you don't catch it in time, but usually this works.
No critters detected here. Ruthless sanguines, lava fruit bug, critters. No critters detected nearby.
And it does function like enemy spawns, so you can increase it with water candles or battle potions if you have
Ruthless sanguine staff, critters. Lava fruit bug net, critters. No critters detected nearby.
I will be back when I actually find one.
Critters. All. Truffle worm 2 all. Truffle worm 2 of 2.
Oh, there it is.
Right.
So,
mushroom grass.
let's see.
Unreal inventory. 2 truffle worm.
Actually, I have auto pause on for the demonstration, but I should really not be stable.
NPC prep arrived on inventory. From head here. 2 truffle worm. Slot 1. 666%.
I got 2 truffle worms. I got one earlier just as a test, and that's pretty much it. You just put it in the first slot before any other bait in your inventory, and go in the ocean, and it should spawn. Fortunately, I haven't found any other way to reasonably catch the truffle worms. If you try walking them up to them legitimately, most likely they'll just despawn or burrow away or get killed by an enemy, so teleporting is really the only option I've seen if you don't have any vision.
Arena setup.
Now for the ocean arena setup. Over here at mine, the idea is you have a fishing spot below the arena to spawn the boss, and then you immediately jump up. To platform above you, I have 3 in total, just to give myself enough space. You could do 2 as well, as long as you position yourself and you're absolutely sure you won't get stuck when jumping up. And as you heard there, there's asphalt, and that lines the entire floor of the arena. There's 2 levels to it, a bottom and a top one. All of the floor is asphalt, other than the parts where there's blocks on them, or teleporters. And that is there to increase your movement speed to the point where you can outrun a good chunk of his attacks, at least the dashes in the first couple phases. If you're doing this pre-mech, you don't have access to asphalt, but I found that using Dune Rider boots and sand or sandstone or some sand equivalent gives you a high enough speed. It's not as much as asphalt, but it's still enough for you to outrun him most of the time. Although you do have to use something like the Shield of Cthulhu or other accessories that boost acceleration or dash to reach top speed right away. I think the only other dash option at that point in the game is Crystal Assassin Armor. And if you're playing Classic, that is the only option. The arena is going to be about the same regardless of world size. So the way Duke Fishron's enraging mechanic works is actually not based on the ocean biome. It's based on your distance from the true world edge. There's 40 tiles off screen the player can't access. So horizontally, it's 400. In reality, we have 360. I usually make 355 just to be safe, and that works. And vertically, it's about the space layer. You're usually never going to get up that high anyway. I usually only make the top layer about 30 blocks or so above the bottom one, where it's still slightly on screen, and that will not enrage him. As a general building tip, so you don't have to count every individual block you place, say this was asphalt or sand or whatever you're using to make the arena out of, and just right click it in your inventory. I would need a lot more than that, but I'll use that for now.
7,101.
Once you have the amount you want, you can just take that new stack
101 wood.
and manually put it in an empty slot in your hotbar.
101 wood.
Another thing to make this easier as well, so once you've built to the edge of the screen,
That's empty. 100 wood block. Empty wood block. 60 right. 2 up.
you can hear, for example, that's 60 right, that's the edge of mine,
Wood block. 60.
and you can just place 2 blocks above that edge and just run straight towards it.
Smart unlock. Keep wood block. 1 right. 1 up.
That way you will collide into it and don't have to worry about accidentally falling off. The fall detection sound is there. However, if you're running on asphalt or have other fast-moving accessories, there's a likely chance you'll fall off anyway before you can react. So this is just going to save you some trouble. Of course, after that,
Wood block. Wood block.
you can just break those, continue, repeat until you finish your floor. I do suggest building towards the world border first, on whichever side of the ocean you're on, and then build out to the other side with the remaining blocks, just to make sure you don't accidentally leave the 360 tile radius. So once you have the floor down, there are 4 teleporters in total. There's 1 in each corner, and the idea is you loop around once you jump up. So for example, I'm going up to the left, and I just went to the top level. I'm going to the right now. This should be the 2nd or 3rd teleporter. And that takes me back down. So I'm on the top level, or bottom level again. And you just repeat that cycle for the first 2 phases, pretty much. There are slight changes in movement when you go to the top level, but I will go over that during the fight. You do want to fly a little bit once you reach there. I'll go ahead and show how the teleporters are set up.
Teleporter. 4 right. 1 up.
So this one is on the right ocean,
4 right.
next
2
to
up.
that world
Teleporter.
edge.
4 right. 1 up. Red wire. Teleporter. 3 right. 1 up.
There's wire
Red wire.
there.
Blue pressure plate. 3 right.
Pressure
2
plate
up.
for teleport.
Red wire. Red wire. Red wire. Red wire.
It's just going
Empty.
straight
Red wire.
up.
Red wire. Red wire. Empty. Red wire. Teleport. Red wire. Blue pressure plate. 3
Into
right.
that
32 up.
teleporter
Red wire.
and pressure
Red wire. Asphalt. 2 right. 30 up.
And in this case, I did make the arena 30 blocks above the floor. You can choose to make it higher or taller. I like having the top floor still on screen, so all the buff stations up there are still within range.
Best statue.
And I'll go over those in a bit as well. Also note on the right side here, next to the world edge, instead of just leaving empty space there, I do have a wall going all the way up.
Empty. 4 right. 34 up.
That is to trigger the wall detection sound. Usually I'll run into the teleporter anyway, but in some weird instance where I don't, that's there as a safety net, so I don't run into empty space and get stuck without realizing it. It's a similar situation on the other side of the arena, away from the world border.
Enter desert.
Go over here.
Asphalt.
Should be on the top level now. And there's a wall here on the side that's away from the edge of the world, so I don't accidentally fall off. And you can change this depending on where your ocean is, or which ocean you're building this arena in. Same thing here.
Teleporter. 1 right.
Teleporter to the floor.
Red wire. Empty. Red wire. Empty. Red wire. Empty. Red wire. Empty. Red wire. Teleporter. 1 right. Red wire. Blue pressure plate. 1
And
teleporter. 1 right. Teleporter. Wood block. 1 down.
This teleporter is on wood, again, just because it's not surface you're contacting, and I happen to have it in my hand at the time, so I just put that there instead of asphalt.
Teleporter. Asphalt.
For buff stations, you only need about 3 to 4 to reach the full range of the arena, and those would be campfires, vast statues, and hurt lantern.
Empty. 6 fast statue. 5 left. 31 up.
Vast statue.
Campfire. Asphalt. 3 left.
Below that,
3 left.
after the campfire,
4 left. Empty. 5 hard left. Empty.
should
Hard lantern.
be
2 left.
hurt
29
lantern.
up.
You only need to put the buff stations at the top level if it's still on screen. You could put them at the bottom as well, but there is a greater chance of you flying out of range once you're at the top. In this case, on the bottom, I actually have 3 heart statues. Yeah, there's one there. Another one. All hooked up to pressure plates. There's one after the first teleporter. There's one somewhat in the middle. And there's one next to the other teleporter that's after the platform, just because the platform, not counting as the speed up arena block, I might slow you down slightly and just space them out in case I take damage at the bottom level, which usually will happen. You can find heart statues either in the cavern layer rarely, or I just use Pigronatas tMod to make them. It takes about 6 life crystals, I believe, and just 18 spare ones you have laying around or going around to find them for 3 should be enough.
Expert mode lesson general notes.
Some final notes before I get to the boss. In Expert and Master mode, Duke Fishron has a 3rd phase, and if you try looping around the arena like you did in the first 2 phases, you would just die. He teleports and dashes to you. It's not possible to realistically avoid by keeping up that pattern. Instead, the most consistent way found to dodge him in that stage is by using the winged slime mount from the gelatinous pillion dropped by Queen Slime. The regular slime mount might work as well, the one from King Slime, although it doesn't have fall damage immunity or flight, so you would have to toggle between flying or mounting and dismounting based on whether you're falling or flying, and that might be a bit much to manage. I just rather get the wing slime out. I chose that because it has possibly the fastest descent speed in the game, and the decent flight and horizontal speed while flying as well is a great combination to dodge him in that phase. In addition to the wing slime out, if you're fighting him on expert or higher, the Ankh Shield might be a worthwhile accessory to go for. It is a little bit of a grind because the crafting tree has some pretty rare drops in it, but it is a lot better now that Shimmer is in the game. And also expert has higher drop rates by default. The reason why this is useful is because Duke Fishron will inflict bleeding and a feral bite with a 33% chance each in these difficulties. Bleeding just stops your life regen entirely, Ankh Shield gives you immunity to that, and the feral bite, while you're not immune to it, it does have a chance to inflict you with a bunch of random debuffs that the Ankh Shield gives immunity to. That can include anything from stopping your item use entirely, including weapons, inverting your controls, having your defense, some pretty nasty stuff. By default, it reduces your life regen, but also gives you a 20% boost to damage overall. This could be used as a semi-buff if you have the Ankh Shield, since you're immune to bleeding, and then the other random debuffs that can come from Feral Bite. The reduced life regen isn't great, of course, but it is somewhat evened out if you have regeneration potions and the buff stations active, and it's still a lot better than having it stopped entirely by bleeding. You would also use that damage boost to your advantage, although it's not really practical to check if you have the debuff or not during the fight. Make sure build mode is toggled off before the fight. The quick mount key by default R will not work if build mode is on, and you'd rather just have that available. As soon as he gets to third phase, you can quickly get to the top level, hit R, and be ready instead of frantically trying to toggle through. In general, that's good for any boss fight where you're trying to use them out. And last thing here, this is in the Terraria access documentation, but I'll go over it as well just in case. In the in-game settings, go to General, go all the way down to Autofire. If that's not already on, I would highly suggest toggling that on. If you're using weapons that don't have Autofire by default, just save you a lot of trouble. It's already a tricky enough fight, you don't need to give yourself tendinitis as well. That being said, on to the boss.
Boss Phase 1.
Alright, I'll go ahead and spawn him in. Okay, and jump up to the arena and just start looping. And actually, I'll start off each phase by putting myself in God mode so you can hear his attacks. In phase 1, he dashes at you 5 times. Then he shoots bubbles that home in. I would highly recommend locking onto these if possible if you're not using a spread or homing weapon, just to get rid of them. He dashes 5 times again, and then he stops for a brief second and shoots Sharknadoes. I believe they go on either side of the arena, based on where they are. There are sound cues for when he is about to do the bubble attack and the Sharknado attack, which you will hear. He'll start by dashing 5 times. Those were the bubbles, and he'll dash again 5 times, and then Sharknadoes. That's a Sharknado sound. And you can hear as well when he does the bubbles and Sharknadoes, there's a different sound cue that plays before each. So again, without pauses. Also, you will be able to hear the Sharkron sounds when they're firing from the Sharknadoes. They have their own sound as well, and they'll also splat against blocks if they hit them. So that'll tell you if there's one active or not, and you can also target them. There's Sharkrons. As he's dashing. Bubbles. Dashes. And Sharknado. And there you go, spotting. So the dashes themselves don't have sound effects, unfortunately, but you can kind of hear the enemy detection sound, or if the boss announcement goes off, you can kind of keep track of that as well, or just hear where he's getting hit. So this phase isn't that bad. You can be a little bit more aggressive with your attacks. If he stops to do the Sharknado attack, you can stop as well briefly to get some hits in if you're close to him, and then continue looping. When you get to the top level, you should fly a little bit while going to the other direction to the other teleporter before dropping down to avoid him if he happens to be there. And that is pretty much it for phase 1.
Research
So I'll go ahead and do that now.
Panel open. Switch. This wall. Smart cursor. Unlock cursor. Smart cursor. Enter tele.
Right? See shark nodes again.
No longer target.
Bottom now. Top soon.
Vision charge from left.
Fly up a little bit to the right. And drop it back down.
Smart cursor.
I am using smart cursor to aim here, just based on kind of where its position is. Probably missing a lot of shots, but I'm more concerned with surviving than getting a bunch of damage in at once. And the hard statues are helping as well. So that's pretty much all for phase 1, and I'll be back once he's about to get to phase 2.
No longer target.
Phase 2.
No longer target. No longer target. No longer target. No longer target. Enter desert. Enter desert.
It should be there now. We're almost there. Oh, there you go. I actually passed second phase a little bit there, but he's definitely there. Okay, so in this phase, it's about the same attack pattern, but there's slight variations. Instead of dashing 5 times, he now dashes 3 times in quicker succession. He does that first, then he does the bubble attack again, but there's more of them, so it's even more important that you lock onto them when you can and destroy them. For this upgraded bubble attack, he will also fly in a circle while shooting the detonating bubbles. This you can't really do anything about other than continuing to run. There's just a higher risk of you taking contact damage from running into him, but hopefully you're out of range and just have to worry about the increased bubbles. Then he does the dashes again, 3 of them, and then he fires a Cthulhu-nado. So unlike the Sharkrons in the first phase, these will home in on you and track your position and only spawn once they hit your position. It is very important that you keep moving to avoid this. If you stand still when they hit you, you will take a ton of contact damage from the tornado itself. And the Sharkron here, unlike in the first phase, don't get affected as much by gravity. They'll still splat if they hit blocks, but they're less likely to. And it might be a good idea if you're near them to target onto them as well to get rid of them. Okay, and for the attack sounds of phase 2, he starts by making his idle noise and then attacking, similar to how he does when he spawns in or when he does the bubble attack. You're not going to hear it now because I accidentally went past the start of second phase, but just to let you know. So he starts with the 3 dashes, and then the bubbles where he flies in a circle. Three dashes again. And then Cthulhu-nado. Bubbles, dashes, and Cthulhu-nado. These go by a lot quicker now, and also he doesn't have a distinguishing sound for the Cthulhu-nado like he did in phase 1. It's both the same sound for the bubble attack and the Cthulhu-nado now. So you keep looping around as you did in the first phase. However, once you reach the top this time, you want to fly for much longer, almost full duration, I would say, as you're going to the other direction before dropping down. This is just to avoid any Cthulhu-nados that happen to be there. And this is where the top level really helps as well. So if the Sharkrons in the first phase or Cthulhu-nados here spawn on the top level, you can mostly ignore them if you're on the bottom or about to get to the bottom level. The Sharkrons in the first phase I didn't mention, they're just smaller versions of Cthulhu-nados. They don't do as much damage, although you still want to avoid getting hit by them and the tornado itself if possible. But they're not as bad, they're shorter, you can easily fly over them, and they last for less time. Okay, so turning off God mode, probably going to take damage here if in the middle. Yep. So going to the right here, should be on the top now, and now bottom. Tornado. Almost getting hit. That was Cthulhu-nado. There's bubbles coming. You want to lock up these. There you heard me locking onto several different things there. Those are the bubbles or shark bombs again. Again, just try to destroy those. And that is pretty much all. Hopefully your heart statues will keep you sustained enough for you to not need to use greater healing potions, but I highly recommend saving those if you're on an expert or above for what's coming next.
Phase 3.
He's about to get into third phase. This is the scariest part of right here. To actually use my healing potion. Uh-oh, he's there. Okay, so this is where a lot of things can go wrong. If I wasn't demonstrating this, I probably would be losing here. But this is why you want to save your grading healing potion, because of this transition. A lot of things can happen. Either the ideal situation, which kind of worked out here, I just wasn't paying attention. He goes in third phase and there's nothing around, and you can just go to the top level, mount, and proceed with the sequence I'm about to show you. In other less ideal situations, there can be Cthulhu Natal still active, and you have to deal with that while also trying to figure out where he is in his third phase. Or there's one that's about to spawn, and you have to deal with an entirely new one while the dashes are also going on. If you just reach the bottom of your arena and you see he's about to go into third phase, I would recommend going to the teleporter that's closest to you again, instead of trying to loop around, because the more you stay down there, the more you're probably going to get hit. I'll also say it's very important to keep track of his health while you're locking onto him in the first two phases, especially from phase 2 to phase 3. The wiki will give the exact numbers, but generally it's less than 50% for phase 2, and less than 15% health for phase 3. So an expert for phase 3 would be about 11,700, and master 14,900 something. Also note that his defense does lower as he goes through the phases, so he starts at 50, then 40 in phase 2, and then 0 in phase 3. So if you were using some I-core supporting weapon like I usually do, it's better to just switch to your main weapon entirely and DPS him down as quickly as possible while dodging in phase 3. On to phase 3. He has a consistent dashing pattern, which starts as teleport, sound, dashes, teleports, dashes twice, teleports, dashes 3 times, and that repeats for the rest of the fight. So I'll put myself in God mode, just so you can hear the dashes when I reset the cycle here.
Journey menu closed.
So you can hear his idle noise every time he's about to dash, and also the enemy detection sound. Even though, again, there's no dash sound, that gives you the rhythm that he will be dashing in. So I'll count it out as well.
Journey menu closed.
1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and again. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Keep that in mind as you're moving. Now to dodge these dashes, this is where the wing slime mount comes in. For the first dash, fly straight up. For the second set of dashes, you should be at the top of the flight height for the mount, and you want to just fall down for the first dash of this set. Then for the second dash of this one, as you're falling, move to the right or left. For the third set, you should be touching the floor by now, and again for the first dash of this, fly straight up. For the second dash, while still flying, move in the opposite direction that you did to dodge the last dash of the second set. So say you were falling, move to the right for this one, you then want to move to the left while still holding fly to dodge the second one of the third group. And then for the third dash, you just fall straight down. So the sequence goes up for dash 1, and then for group 2, down for dash 1, and then still flying down right for dash 2 as an example, or down left works too. And then for the third group, up first dash, up left for second dash, or up right, depending on what you did for the last one, and then straight down to dodge the third dash. If it's easier for you to hear the flying and falling sounds, to turn Smart Cursor off, otherwise it is muted. Okay, so I'll turn God mode off to demonstrate.
Legs, 1 up.
Straight up.
Teams torso.
And right, down. Up, left,
Teams torso.
down.
Enter legs.
Oh, I messed that one up, but you can hear him knocking on the door.
Keep lives. Keep torso.
And I messed that one up.
Keep lives.
Okay.
Infinite
But overall, if you get the inputs perfectly, you will be able to avoid most or all the damage in Phase 3. I just screwed up a couple times there. You don't want to make your movements at the same time you count his dashes, otherwise he will just hit you. You kind of preemptively move before it. It's a very small window, and it's very difficult to explain. You just have to practice it. The third one is usually where you have to be very precise. Right before he dashes, I've found that if you do it too early, he'll also hit you for that first one. And same thing when you're falling down to avoid the third one. Sometimes he may teleport in a position where you just hit him anyway when following the sequence. So aside from mistimed inputs, you might just have bad luck and run into him. Although this will absolutely avoid most of the damage you would take otherwise from just flailing around. And now I'll just try to kill him with the health he has left. Of course, this is a lot easier because I have God mode and I got back to full health and it's a controlled environment. But I just want to show how you would kind of lock onto him if you're not using a homing weapon or a weapon with homing ammunition like I am here. It's about after every first dash where you have a safe window, but that varies based on your comfortability. Checking this off. And there we go. So sometimes during the first set, I won't bother locking onto him at all, if I don't feel like it's safe. And then again, after the first dash of the other two, I try to lock on when I feel like I'm in a safe space, or comfortably enough in the sequence where I can avoid him. And that is all for the boss. If you manage to get through that, and get through Phase 3 if you're on harder difficulties, congratulations, you just beat one of the hardest bosses in the game, and hopefully got yourself some powerful gear to make the future fights faster. If this is as far as you're going to go, I do hope this guide helped, and take care. Otherwise, I will be doing the complete fight now. Alright, just to make things a bit more interesting, I've raised the difficulty back up to Master Mode. Also because I like my 7 accessory slots. I will be going over my loadout briefly. I haven't mentioned anything about gear before, just because there's plenty of that on the wiki and with other YouTube videos already. This is not a blind accessibility issue. I will go over this. So I have the Venus Magnum with crystal bullets as my main damaging weapon. I have the Daedalus Stormbow with I-Core arrows as a supporting weapon. It does lots of damage on its own, but I like the I-Core debuff where it reduces enemy defense. It's great for the gun. And I full shrew my armor to increase gun damage with the mask, and I have B-Wings here. The type of wings don't really matter as long as it's in the same tier. I just happened to get a towered B-Wing while I was doing stuff in the jungle, but there's multiple wings in the same category of about 80 tiles of max flight height. And depending on if you fight it earlier in hard mode, you might get different ones. Lightning boots, explanatory movement. Long shoot, already explained that. Worm scarf. I like the consistent 17% damage reduction at all times. The Brain of Confusion is great too, and there's an argument to be made that overall it would negate more damage because of the complete dodge chance, but I like the consistency of this. Future set and Ranger Emblem for increased damage and crit chance. And I have a Star Veil. Stars some extra damage, but the main thing are the iframes from the cross necklace that gives. Okay. And I also have the Sanguine Staff as my minion here, just some extra damage. And I'm using Bacon for the exclusively stuffed buff. Really, any medium or well-fed buff is fine. I just happen to get all of this because I'm in journey mode, and I can just break a bunch of Pigronatas. But and then I have Iron Skin, Regeneration, Swiftness, Endurance, Rage, Wrath, Life Force, Archery, and Summoning. I believe that's it. Alright, without further ado, let's do this.
Smart cursor, toilet.
I just realized I forgot to buff.
Wooden door.
Whatever. There you go. Cross summoning is a great start. Yeah, ideas because of how the bow works. This specific one, I shoot him when I'm on the top with that, to give him I-Core, and I shoot him with the gun every other time. Except for Phase 3 where I just DPS him down. Those bubbles. I forgot to switch the bow.
Bringing in slot 2. Bringing in slot 2's. Campfire.
Just switch my
Unreal 2 fish
got my
charge.
minions there.
No longer target. Locked onto 2 fish. 85,000. Enter desert. No longer target. Enter desert.
Those are bubbles.
Unreal
Yeah. It's a mistake.
Locked onto 2 fish. All cabin. Enter desert. No longer target. Lock campfire. Ladder 7. Enter tower. No longer targeting. Unreal. Locked onto 2 fish. Enter. Unreal. No longer. Enter beach. Locked onto 2 fish. All cabin. Enter. Help 500 campfire. Ladder 7. Enter. Help 535 of 600. No longer. Unreal mistake. Locked onto 2 fish. 7,600. Enter.
The first phase is pretty easy.
No longer. Locked onto 2 fish.
I'm not even making that big of movements. I don't mind if I get hit occasionally. And I could probably stop here when he does the short run. At least when he starts.
No longer target. Locked onto 2
I can't stop his shadows.
No longer
But
target.
he is about to do the short run.
Unreal. Locked on. No longer. Locked on 2 fish. 2,887. Up 600 of 6 fish. Ball cabin. No longer target. Locked on 2 fish. No longer. Enter tower. Unreal mid switch.
Okay, I think he actually just got to second phase.
Locked on 2 fish. 48,000.
Yep, he's definitely in second phase.
Up 600.
This is where I have to be careful.
On 200.
Top. Fly up higher for longer. Fall down.
Ball cabin. 2 fish. No longer target. Locked on 2 fish. Campfire. Enter tower. Ladder 7 aside. 2 fish. From left.
And I did start by going to the left and then moving to the right. But depending on, you can do either direction based on your arena. Or which side of the ocean you're on.
Unreal. Enter beat. Locked on 2 fish. 42,000 and 2 fish. From left. Help 600. Ball cabin.
This one was good. Oh,
Campfire. Unreal mid tank.
you know, just one shark on this one.
No longer target. Locked on 2 fish. 34,800.
Just shot another 30, I'm pretty sure.
Help 193 of 600. Unreal. No longer. Enter beat 2 fish. Locked on 2 fish. 30,180.
Bubbles. Lock onto those if we can.
No longer target. Locked on. Unreal campfire.
These will be the one I'm on the teleporter.
Locked on. No longer target. Locked on. No longer. Locked on. No longer target. No longer. No longer target.
Bad, but I've got bubbles.
Enter beat. Locked on. No longer. Locked on 2 fish. 22,212. Help 600. All getting voices.
Getting close. I need to be careful when he transitions to third phase.
Campfire. Unreal. No longer target. Locked on 2 fish. Turn to left. No longer target.
Is he in third phase?
Turn to right. Campfire. Enter tower. 2 fish. Locked on 2 fish. No longer target. Enter tower. Unlock. No longer target. Asphalt. Enter beat. Deflex. Deflex. Enter. Locked on 2 fish. No longer target. Asphalt. Locked on 2 fish. 7,000 feet. 2 fish.
3.
Locked on 2 fish. 3,000 feet. No longer target. Asphalt.
One.
Locked on 2 fish. No longer target. Deflex. Locked on. No longer target. Deflex.
Give me dead soon.
Enter beat. Deflex. Deflex. Enter desert.
Oh, he died. I didn't even realize.
Grab and with touch items.
Okay.
Fishron relic. 6 greater healing potion. 2 Fishron relic. You apply. None left. 2.
And then,
Custom items. Custom and grab. Off. Enemies. Off.
okay, let's see what I got here.
Inventory. Light. Unreal tsunami.
Yeah, let's put that to it.
Warding frozen. 2 Fishron relic. Warding magic. 2 Fishron relic. Slot 33. Can be placed. Master.
Oh, that's always guaranteed to master, so
Warding
not
magic.
surprised there.
Port of treasure pack. 2 port of a sea.
Oh, I got the pet item. I already have this, but it's another master mode thing. Look at the sea.
Treasure pack.
Can't see
Mythical
anything.
Mythical bubble gun. Slot 28. 100 magic damage.
Oh, that's actually nice. I don't think I got the bubble gun yet. I am doing mostly ranger
Greater healing potion.
this playthrough, but I'll just keep that anyway.
Warding magic. Warding magic. Shrimpy truffle.
Shrimpy truffle as well, which is the infinite flight mount. I already have one of those. So
Slot 24.
that is useful. I'm probably going to make a guide on Empress next. But yeah, that is pretty much it. This is actually the second attempt of me doing this. I did beat him the first time, but it was very close. I ended with 19 health, and I didn't like how sloppily I did the third phase. I actually got it this time with the transition. But yeah, other than that, that's it. Done.